Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to be discussing the different ways to display images in a React project. So when you're displaying an image in plain HTML, it's really very straightforward. It's as simple as just setting the path to the image as the value of the source attribute. And usually you really don't have any problems as long as you just type the file path correctly and make sure that the image is actually where you say that it is. Usually that goes pretty smoothly when you're just using regular HTML. But if you're like me, you may have experienced that it's not always quite so simple when you're using React. Sometimes you run into little bugs and problems. So in today's video, I want to go over the most common ways to import and display images in a React application, and hopefully some of you will find this helpful. So really the three most common ways to display an image in a React app are the following. Number one, we can put the image inside our source folder within the React application, and then we can import it into the component in which we want to use it. That's one way we can do it. A second way would be to put the image in the source folder, but then rather than using the import statement, we can use the require function, which comes from Node.js, and we'll talk about how we use that method. And the third way, which is a little bit different, is rather than keeping the image inside our source folder, we can put it into the public folder and access it from there. So we'll go over all three of these methods and talk through them in a little bit more detail. So right here we have my VS Code. I have just a really very simple React app running on localhost 3000, and that's open displayed over here in Google Chrome. There's really not much going on here. We just have an H1 with kind of the title of the page, and then I've got a spot for where we're going to be displaying this image that we're going to be putting up on the screen. But I've kept everything extremely simple so we can really just focus on how to display the image and not worry about much else going on. I have some very simple CSS going on just to make this a little bit more like dark mode and not so bright on the screen while we're working on this. So the first thing we'll be doing is using that first method to display this image that I have right here. It's just a nice image of the night sky. So this is the image that we want to be able to put into our application. So the first method is to place the image inside our SRC or source file here in the app. And notice I've done that. It's at the same level within our application as our app.js, our app.css, and our index.js. So the image nightsky.jpg or JPEG is right here within our source folder. So in order to use this within our app component right here, I need to put an import statement. So I'm going to say import, and I'm just going to call this image night sky like this from, and then in here I'm just going to put the path to the image nightsky.jpg. And it's as simple as that. This is our import statement to bring this file into this component. And now that that's been brought in, down here with our image tag, I can simply set the source to night sky like this, and that should work here as soon as I save the file. But I do want to point out, notice that we have to wrap this in curly braces because this is pointing to a dynamic resource. It's not a string. So we do want to wrap that in curly braces so it recognizes that this is what we're referencing. So if I save this, that should hopefully work, and as the page or as the component re-renders, we see the image display over here. So that's the first method. We see this working on the page. Now for larger applications, you typically wouldn't want to just put your image right here in the source folder like this. That would get a little bit chaotic in an app that has many components and pages and files and things going on. We want to keep things a little bit more organized. So typically what you would see is that you would create a folder called assets, and then we would want to put the image in here. And that'll throw an error because now this import statement isn't pointing to the right place. So now I want to update this /assets/night sky, and as soon as I save, that fixes the problem. And the image is still within our source folder, but now just to clean things up a little bit, if this were a larger application, we'd probably want to put it in this assets folder. You also, for bigger applications where there might be different types of files in the assets folder, you might even want an images folder inside the assets folder. So we would place that within here, update the import statement one more time, and we've got the file working again. So hopefully this is making sense so far. That covers the first method where we use this import statement and display the image in the application. So moving on, the second method is similar. The image stays in the source folder, but we use the require function to set the source attribute of the image tag. Now the require function is available to us due to Node.js. It works similar to an import statement that we had at the top in the previous example, but now we no longer need that because the require function will handle the import part for us. So I'm going to get rid of this, and this is going to break the app for a second. We'll get rid of that. And now down here what I can do is source equals open curly braces. We're going to say require and open parentheses, and now within the parentheses I can pass the path to the file. So we're going to do ./assets/images/night_sky.jpg, and we'll save. And we see that this method's really pretty similar. The only difference is that rather than putting the import statement at the top, we're using the require function dynamically here inside curly braces to put this right inside our source attribute. So first two methods are pretty similar. The third method is where things are going to get a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this and just set our source attribute back to an empty string for now. And I'm going to take this out of these folders and get rid of this because we don't need this anymore. Alright, so the third method I've already mentioned is a little bit different than the first two. In this method, we're going to be placing the image directly into the public folder of our app. So I'm going to move this up here. And by doing this, what we can do is we can reference the path to the file directly from our image tag without the need for an import statement or the required function. Everything inside the public folder is available for use within the entire app. So we can simply type the path to the file inside the source attribute. So I'll open this up just so we can see that this is inside the public folder, and I should be able to type ./night_sky.jpg. If I save, we see that the image comes back up here. And notice that because it's inside the public folder, you don't actually have to type the first part of the path to get to the public folder. You just need this ending of the relative path right here, because everything in this public folder is available for use throughout the application. I've personally found that this third method tends to be helpful when I'm working on a component where the image might need to change based on the state of the application, or maybe based on the page that you're on, because we can pass a string directly to the source attribute of the image tag. This allows you to potentially pass that string down through props to the component and to use that prop directly within the image tag. So that can be helpful when you need that image to change based on certain factors within the app. However, if you just need to display a single image in a component and it doesn't need to change based on the state of the application, I think the first method of keeping the image in the source folder and importing it is usually the most common. So I hope these comments make sense and that you found this video helpful. As always, if you have any different ideas or if you have any questions or things you want to mention, feel free to leave a comment below. I'm happy to take a look at those and get back to you, and I look forward to hearing from you.